The night is June 26, 1996. The NBA draft is taking place in East Rutherford, New Jersey within the Continental Airlines Arena. Little did NBA fans know that this draft would go down as one of the best of all time. Kobe, Ray Allen, Steve Nash, Peja Stojakovic, Marcus Camby, and Stephon Marbury, just to name a few. A whopping 23 players played 10 or more seasons in the NBA. Even with all of the talent in the draft, the Philadelphia 76ers selected an undersized point guard with a questionable past out of Georgetown University named Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson, who quickly became known as simply AI, was a lightning bolt of electricity on the court. Known for his elusiveness with the basketball, quickness, and ability to score, AI was respected by his peers immediately. The only knock on AI was by girls on Tinder who said they were disappointed that he wasn't actually 6 feet when he showed up to their first date, but they reconsidered their requirements after seeing him play on the court. AI was voted to an All-NBA team 7 times, was voted to an All-Star team 11 times, and even won the NBA MVP award in 2001. During his Hall of Fame career, he earned over $154 million for his efforts on the court. From what I shared in my video detailing why your favorite athletes are actually massively underpaid, think of how underpaid Allen Iverson was. In the 2001 season, AI was MVP of the league, one of only 5 players on the All-NBA first team, and led the 76ers to the NBA Finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, and he made only $10 million that year. He probably made the value of the 76ers organization go up by a multiple of that alone. Merchandise, ticket sales, food and beverage, advertising revenue from local TV deals, massively underpaid. The 76ers lost the 2001 NBA Finals, but the most iconic moment from that series was not the Lakers winning. It was AI delivering a Game 1 victory over what seemed to be an unbeatable Lakers squad. AI's 76ers were pretty big underdogs, but won Game 1 behind his 48 points. The legendary 2001 Lakers team went 16-1 in the playoffs to capture another finals banner hanging in the rafters, but they'll forever know they weren't unbeaten because of AI's dominance in Game 1. The actual most iconic moment of the series was AI stepping over Ty Lue after hitting a clutch jump shot. Where does Reebok enter the story? I remember in '96 when it was time to choose between these offers for my sneaker contract, and I had this Nike offer on one side and this Reebok offer on the other side, and that Nike number, boy, you know it was lower, much lower, because that's how it was to be Nike at the time. Y'all, everyone was with Nike, everyone. Reebok knew a star was being born when AI was at Georgetown in 1996.
I played high school ball with John's sons, so I knew John Thompson personally. So I was connected to Georgetown, like that was my squad. We just saw Allen just do something amazing one day on the court, and we were just like, that's the one.
Nike not only dominates the US market, but also dominates the worldwide athletic footwear industry with 22.51% market share in 1991, increasing to 33% by 1999. Reebok maintains its second place position with 18.82% worldwide market share in 1991, falling to 16% by 1999. Reebok needed a star in order to compete with Nike in the competitive athletic shoe market, and they believed AI was their guy. But I'm my own guy. Man, I came from nothing. And Reebok, just by signing with them, they gave me a chance to be the guy who's his own guy. They gave me the chance to show this whole world, this world that wasn't accustomed to someone who looked like me and acted like me, that things didn't always have to look a certain way or be done a certain way. And that's why it was so much more than a shoe deal for me at that time.
He definitely had this like swagger for a college player, and his game, his persona, his edge, everything was so perfect for what we were talking about and for our brand and for the industry.
Reebok made a great choice. The team behind AI's product launch at Reebok actually built his shoe before he was even drafted. The two gentlemen in the previous video were instrumental in AI's successful first product launch with Reebok.
And that's how we came up with the name, The Question.
Yeah.
That's how it became the code name, because it was all these questions circulating around.
And then there was the infamous meeting where Paul Fireman was in there, who won Reebok. In the middle of the meeting, after discussing the money, Paul Fireman says, listen, if the money gets too high, there'll always be another Allen Iverson. And I swear to God, we didn't even look at each other. We just both went like this. No, there won't.
Reebok took a risk on AI. Due to an unfortunate event while Allen was in high school, he was assumed to be part of a violent crime at a bowling alley, even though he wasn't even part of the fight. The stigma of AI having character concerns carried with him through college. With John Thompson coaching and mentoring Allen, Reebok wasn't concerned about the media profiling Allen as a troubled teen. Reebok spent money developing Allen's shoe while he was still at Georgetown. They wanted Allen to have his own signature shoe during his rookie season, figuring that would be the key sales pitch for Allen signing with Reebok over Nike.
And Reebok was willing to invest in me. I don't know, I had no choice. They rock with me.
At the time, Nike had some of the biggest names in basketball on their roster of endorsed athletes, including the biggest name in sports, Michael Jordan. Allen didn't want to be number 2 on Nike's roster.
We went through all the stuff you typically do in a pitch. Here's what we're gonna pay you. Here's how we might use you. Todd and I were smart enough to know this kid only cares about one thing. He only cares about what is this shoe going to look like. And then at the end, when we saw that things were really going well, we were just like, well, we got one more thing to show you. Plop that thing on the table. And he just went he picked it up and he was like.
That has to be a really cool moment, being a 21-year-old leaving college for the NBA draft where you're projected to be a top pick and Reebok already has a signature shoe ready for you.
Right here is the original prototype, the one they showed Allen. So basically, even before Allen declared for the NBA draft, Q and Todd were watching him and thinking, all right, this is the guy we need.
Reebok took a huge risk by investing in a shoe before the athlete even signed a deal to endorse their sneakers and represent their brand. It paid off huge though. Allen's first sneaker, The Question, sold out immediately. Todd Krinsky, even though we started designing the shoe when AI was still at Georgetown, by the time we confirmed the shoe and signed him, we could only get limited pairs into the marketplace that fall. We figured we'd use that to our advantage, so we only put them in certain areas. We put them in Philly, New York, and DC, and that was really it. When we first put them out, I started getting phone calls in the morning that kids were coming in right after school and that the shoes were almost sold out, and that was only one day. We started hearing stories from the store employees that kids were coming from Delaware and Boston, driving 3 to 4 hours to go to the Philly store to get the shoe. After the second day, it was completely sold out. Allen Iverson was a movement. I think Michael Vick, also from Virginia, was the only other athlete I can think of that garnered as much publicity and fanfare as Allen did when first entering their respective league. Iverson quickly received a 10-year, $50 million contract from Reebok when the Sixers made him the first overall pick in the 1996 draft. The company then released the Reebok Question, which the guard wore en route to winning Rookie of the Year honors for this 96-97 season. He made a little over $150 million from his NBA contracts and at least $50 million from his first contract with Reebok. Imagine how much money that is. We'll see in a minute why it became known that he was having financial troubles, but it's still hard to understand how someone could spend enough money that people are worried about you paying your debts after earning $200 million. When Iverson led the Sixers to the 2001 NBA Finals and was named league MVP, Reebok signed him to a lifetime deal. In addition to the $800,000 the former guard receives annually, the contract famously includes a trust fund worth $32 million that Iverson can't touch until 2030 when he turns 55. This is the best sponsorship deal I've ever read about. I don't have a name for you on who specifically signed this deal, but whoever was involved, well done. It was a benefit to all parties involved. But 8.5 years later, Reebok is still paying him $800,000 a year, as it has been since they signed the answer to a lifetime contract. And last week, Reebok CEO Matt O'Toole said the company thought it was still worth it. He has a place in our heritage, and there is a group of consumers who want to connect to that, O'Toole said on the Bloomberg Business of Sport podcast. He's relevant for a lot of our consumers. On top of the $32 million he will receive in 9 years, AI has been getting paid $800,000 every single year since he signed the lifetime contract. Even after taxes and his agent or manager's cut, he's still probably walking away with $32,000 every single month for life. I make a lot of videos on why athletes go broke, and this is exactly why I say that they should all focus on investing first before consumer spending. The athletes in 2021 are signing deals worth way more money than in years past because of the boost in TV revenue. There are still plenty of stories of athletes going broke, even though they're making so much more money nowadays. If they invest it well starting on the day they enter the league until the day they retire, they could be making $800,000 every year easily, and their principal will grow if they invest in appreciating assets. Thankfully for whomever decided to put this deal together, AI will be fine financially for the rest of his life. That wasn't always the case though. One of the most important parts of that lifetime contract was an irrevocable trust that was set up as deferred compensation for Allen. I was a very strong advocate for that, along with Tom Shine, Paul Fireman, and other executives at Reebok. That ensured and secured Allen's future. Whether he played basketball or not, he would every year be putting money from his Reebok compensation away that he could not touch until a certain age when he turns 55. It'll be there long after he was done playing basketball. I'm glad AI will be fine long after his playing days, because without this deal, he would have been in trouble. Listen to how crazy this is. According to Docs, Allen brings in $62,500 in monthly income, but his expenses are far, far greater, costing him a cool $358,376.66 per month. So where does all this money go? A large chunk, $125,000 to be exact, is spent paying off various creditors like his jeweler, and some goes to his mortgages, but not for long since his ATL crib is about to be auctioned off. But Allen says he blows a lot on other expenses too, like $10,000 a month on clothes, $10,000 a month on grocery house items, $1,000 a month on dry cleaning, $5,000 a month on entertainment, $5,000 a month on restaurants, and so on. Think of how insane that is. He's around $300,000 in the negative every single month. I get a lot of comments on my other videos saying how the athlete is going to sign for a lot of money and they'll never go broke. It unfortunately happens, and it's a guarantee if someone is spending $300,000 every month more than they make. Iverson purchased the home back in 2010 for $4.5 million, but according to official records, he defaulted on his mortgage and the bank foreclosed. Now, the home is set to be sold at auction on December 4th, along with all the crap inside. Iverson's currently going through a nasty divorce with his estranged wife, and he's famously been dealing with money problems, including a nearly $1 million debt to a Georgia jeweler. Spending money is probably fun when it's coming in as fast as these guys get paid, but no one wants to default on their mortgage and face the public humiliation of foreclosure after earning $150 million. AI did the two things that are guaranteed to lead an athlete to financial trouble. He got married, he got divorced, and he built up a lifestyle where the monthly expenses far exceeded the monthly income. According to court papers obtained by TMZ, Iverson was sued back in 2010 for allegedly stiffing Aiden & Company jewelers on a $375,000 bill. The records show AI never responded to the lawsuit, so a default judgment was issued in favor of the jewelry store, allowing A&C to collect $859,896 for the bling, court costs, interest, and attorney's fees. Who knows what happens in these types of cases, but either AI was a prick for buying nearly $400,000 of jewelry and stiffing the company, or he had no money and couldn't afford what he was wearing. What I don't understand about these athletes is they make so much money and I guess don't pay cash for these luxury items. Just put it on the tab, bro. Well, the tab balloons to nearly $1 million when you add in court costs, interest, and attorney's fees. If you ever wondered how athletes spend so much money, this is the perfect example. This is a crazy story from Matt Barnes about AI spending habits. Allen was the first guy that showed me how NBA players spend money in strip clubs, Barnes says. That guy went hard. He throws so much money, and this was when I was first in the league, that I used to take my foot and scoop the stuff under my chair and either rethrow it or put some in my pocket. He'd throw $30,000, $40,000 every time we went. I'm like, you realize what I can do with this money? When these guys are making $10 million per year, it seems like infinite money, but money dries up really quickly throwing $30,000 on cinnamon during every dance. Always remember that at the tax level these guys are at, they have to earn $2 for every $1 they throw around. The final crazy story of Allen's spending was his post on the Players Tribune titled Allen. He describes a story where he noticed his teammate Larry Hughes admiring his Bentley. Larry clearly wanted one and Allen had multiple at the time. I'm saying Larry is standing there and he's in this daze. He's in a Bentley daze, just looking at it and then looking at me, and then he's just like, yo, AI, I have to get me one of these. I don't even hesitate, bro, you can have mine. I've never seen anyone so grateful. What's unfortunate for guys like Allen is their reciprocity and desire to help those around him usually leads to financial trouble. Allen will be fine because of the Reebok deal, but not everyone had a manager or team structure an endorsement contract like that one. Really interesting story, and glad that AI will be fine financially for the rest of his life. Believe it or not, I wore the all-white Answer 6s back in the day. Was a great shoe. Thanks for watching.